And so as soon as we ask the right questions, our mind goes, well, let's look at some solutions and options. And this is the thing. We always shut ourselves down, projecting either into the future based off our past, instead of being the fucking present moment and saying, what do I want? What would that look like? How could I create that? What are the options? So I literally was with the coach. I was like, all right, like, do you do a payment plan? Is that possible? He's like, well, yeah, I can do a payment plan. Okay, well, what would the first payment be? Oh, and I think it was like 2,000 or 2,500 or something like that. I'm like, all right, awesome. Okay, how can I create that? And then I was like, I went and got a fucking credit card. And I also, I mean, I had my first product I'd created, which was like the whole truth about weight loss. It's funny because, okay, Olive Garden, they wear these like, those long like man suit shirts, right?
So
With
hot.
the ties, so sexy, right? And I was like, I go there and I was like, I'm gonna kick ass, and I literally set my mind's intentions like, I am going, because there was a seminar I wanted to go to first before I actually got this coach, and it was $500. $500 to me was like crazy. I had less than $10 to my name, right? So I was like, I'm going to the seminar. I'm going to create $500. How do I get to do that? And I was like, all right, every night I'm going to make $130 in tips. Now, at the most, people made like $20, $30 in tips. So 130 was a big ass stretch. And I told everybody, I fucking showed up at work and I'm like, I'm making $130 in tips tonight. I'm getting $130 in tips. And they're like, yeah, you crazy, right? And I was like, watch. And I just knew, again, I was like, this is what I'm intending. I don't know how it's going to show up, but I'm intending this. And that's a secret to it. It's like surrender to the attachment expectation. And so I just did my thing and I was kicking ass, and all of a sudden people are like, you know what? They like wrote me tips for $60 and the meal was 30. Like I got the coolest people, and then I'm talking to people and they're like, you look like you're kind of shredded under that shirt. They're like, what do you do? And I'm like, did you know that the breadsticks are like 12 grams of fat and that meant blah, blah. I'm like, I actually have an audio series or I have a video series. I'm like, and I started
Talking.
selling my DVDs.
Gangster.
I totally
You're
did.
like this, like out the side.
Even to the waiters and waitresses, they're like, you're running around so energized and fit, and they're like, man, and they're so sluggish and right. And I was like, well, I do have my DVD series, and I started selling. I was like, I am making $500, and by the exact date that I had to have it, I had exactly the $500. That's when it's like, all right, cool. So then I went to that seminar and I was like, all right, I get to invest in myself more. So same thing. I was selling my DVDs. I was like, how else do I get to create money? How else do I get to create money? And if something shows up, like maybe you go to get a credit card or go to get a bank loan and they're like, no, you're like, instead of being like, see, I can't. That's just responding with your old shit. And so like, oh, well, what else would be possible? How else could I do this? And just even asking, most people just never even ask for what they want and ask for what people are willing to do and ask of how that's a possibility. So that's how I got my first coach. And then, of course, when you're invested in yourself,